Twitter. So let's see what Noodles has to say here. Def Noodle. Let's see what he's got to say. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, here we go again with like false assault accusations. Got famous on TikTok for joking about 14-year-old girls. Then gets offended. Someone jokes about him, but you know he was right. I shouldn't have said. Should have said he makes himself so small in his videos to hide the fact that he looks like a pedophile. This is pretty bad. So this is gonna make you look really bad for you in your lawsuit against Keemstar, mostly because he called you a pedophile without any actual evidence, and this is what you're doing to me right now. What's really interesting is that this is two things. For one, I've already deeply explained the context of this to Def Noodles personally. We had a live conversation about this. And he's also tweeting this, that I made an inappropriate joke, which I consistently keep saying was an inappropriate joke regardless of the context. But this was the joke. The joke was if she's old enough to bleed. And he literally, for what he did, he duetted it. What is it called? What is that called? He decided to, what is it called? Retweeted it. He retweeted the entire context. Wow. He retweeted the context. Here's the context. The joke was, if she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough to breed. Thank you very much, Andre Lopez, for the advice, right? It was a satirical call-out since he allegedly slept with a 14-year-old. It's a joke I've condemned multiple times, but that person isn't interested in honesty. Somehow, he looked at this and said, I'm going to nail Papa Gut on this point. What are you talking about? The reality here, I'm going to be very clear, is I've been very active in the deplatforming of two predators on TikTok. That's what I've done. And this is a bad joke I never should have said. But I find it interesting that somebody like Def Noodles, who is virtue signaling and trying to, again, deplatform somebody who has actually used his platform for good. As of right now, we're watching Def Noodles get completely rolled over in a conversation about gay rights. And he has the audacity to criticize me for this. This doesn't really work out well for him. This is bad. This kid's a fucking idiot. Put this on a watch list. He looks very suspicious. Okay. Realistically speaking, I'm not going to sue him. Joe Rogan Gemini. The reality is that like this isn't going to go the way Dennis wants. I'm not going to have an emotionally provoked response. That's pretty much it. Like, he's not going to get the reception that he wants to get. Also, I guess he's showing pictures of me he Googled. Wow, okay. Cool. Okay. This is it? This is the only thing? Okay. All right. Very cool. Yeah, he did call me a predator. It is what it is, man. This is what virtue signaling about pedophilia looks like. Dennis doesn't care about kids getting raped. He's a worthless human being that doesn't actually care. I've put my platform on the line multiple times to call shit like this out. I lost one of my TikToks one time with like 600,000 views because I called out Zoe Laverne. This is just what Dennis does, man. This is just what Dennis does, and I know it's to get me to have an emotional response here. But like realistically speaking, I'm not going to take the bait. Dennis is already very infamous for not having any credibility and for twisting stories. And realistically here, he's doing it again. The problem is he's showing full context. So it doesn't even make him look good. That's it. It just makes him look really bad. So here, I guess I should tweet back to him. I had to write out a thoughtful tweet in the middle of this. So let me just read what I had to say, because I think it's very important, and I actually do believe this. So, first of all, the reason that I took pictures of this is because I know what Def wants me to do. Is he wants me to just quote tweet this, so that the context isn't directly available unless you go take time out of your day to keep clicking through. He wants to get locked in a chain of conversation so that this fully contextualized explanation gets lost in the comments. Thing is that you're fucking stupid as shit, Def. You are incredibly dumb. You have absolutely no intellect or integrity, and you're very easy to read. So I know the game that you're playing, okay? So I decided to make it a picture instead, because this makes more sense, right? So the context doesn't get lost, because I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to misinterpret me as a pedophile, but I've done a lot to deplatform actual predators. 20-something-year-olds trying to fuck 13-year-olds and rape them. That's who I've deplatformed. 27-year-olds trying to get introduced into meetups, sending their dick to 13 and 14-year-olds. That's what I deal with. What do you do every day? What have you done with your platform? I've constantly called out predatory content creators. It's a big part of my content. And then I also educate young men on rape culture. That's what I do, Def. What do? You get rolled in a fucking conversation with Christian Walker about gay rights. You look like a fucking idiot moron constantly. And this is the game that you want to play with me? When we first talked, I gave you a tremendous amount of charitability. But it's gone now. The reality is you're worthless. You're a worthless content creator. You don't do anything positive. You are a drama news reporter, and that's totally fine. But don't come into my fucking space, because you don't have the intellect to be able to talk about these things. You don't have the intellect, the humility. You don't have anything, okay? This is a space that I've come into, and it's very difficult. Constantly engaging and getting things wrong on slight nuances every single day. Doing the best that you can to put yourself and your credibility on the line, to have conversations, talk about shit, and educate people on very necessary social issues, especially as somebody who is a man. I educate young men on not putting young women into situations where they'll take advantage of them, because this is how this happens. These power dynamics are so subtle, and a lot of young men are assaulting women without even realizing it. They're taking them out to dinner, and they're just being aggressive because this is what society teaches them. And then they're over pushing, and then women get afraid, and they stop saying no. And it's these really nuanced things. And this is what I'm doing. I'm educating a group of young men on being good young men. What the fuck are you doing? You're trying to deplatform me. Why? Because I upset you? I hurt your feelings? Why? Because you know that at the end of the day, I'm the direct fucking person to point to for your deplatforming as a fucking content creator, because you fucked with me. And last time you fucked with me, I was super charitable because it was the first interaction I had with you. And my wife, she called you out to be a disingenuous piece of shit, and I still gave you the benefit of the doubt. And now here you are months later playing this fucking game with me. The charitability's gone. This is it, Def. I want you to understand this, okay? Your podcast is horseshit. You have no intellect. It's abysmal. Listening to this is horrible. You're letting Christian Walker roll you over on fucking social issues. It's insane. People watching this, young impressionable people watching this, going, wow, Christian Walker's making a really good point about how we shouldn't have pride flags in the classroom, about how gay people shouldn't be openly gay in the classroom, about how kids who might come out as gay should have their parents told, especially in fucking conservative areas that can get them hurt by their parents. These are really good points, Christian. This is what you do. You have negative impacts on every single fucking social issue that you touch. It's the same thing when we had our first interaction, when we had the situation with that Killick and that girl, where you didn't give a fuck that they were calling a 17-year-old a fucking rapist, a predator, and a pedophile, because he was trolling a guy about his sister, and it was wrong what he did. And I talked to the 17-year-old young man, not the fucking grown adult that you are. The 17-year-old young man, I educated on him on not saying those things because they're disgusting. But I understand he's not a fucking rapist, a pedophile, and a predator. But that's what he was being called, and you don't care, because you don't care if kids get fucking raped, Dennis. You don't give a shit. You've never talked to somebody who's been raped. You never talked to anybody who actually this deeply fucking hurts. Have you ever been in a situation where you sat down and you'd looked a fucking survivor in the eye and you listened to them tell their fucking story? Have you ever heard this? Have you ever sat down and listened to this? in a situation where there's nothing you can do but listen, when the only thing you want to do is have an anger, emotional response that's going to have a profoundly negative impact on that person who's just trying to tell you their story. They're focusing on you, and you get to the situation where you get so upset and so worked up, you make it about you. What the fuck do you do, Dennis? What the fuck do you do? What the fuck do you do every day? You want to come on here and play false fucking rape accusations? Have you ever talked to somebody who talks about how they were fucking raped as a child? What do you do every day? Because if you fucking did, you wouldn't play this shit. This shit is fucking serious, Dennis. It's serious. And every single day, you can say that I'm inflated, but every single day that I make content, I try my best when we talk about these things to prevent this from happening in the future. This is what I do. You don't have to like it, Dennis. You don't have to like me. But every single day, I put my credibility on the line to say something that I mean, to have the right conversation with these people, with the young men in my fucking audience. That's what I do. I'm a real fucking man, Dennis, and I'm trying my best to educate these kids. But what are you doing? What are you putting on the line, Dennis? Other than your fucking credibility every single day. Because you look like a fucking moron. I don't like to get worked up. But we're talking about people, children getting fucking raped, Dennis. And you do nothing about it because you don't care. But I do, because I care a lot, Dennis. And your attempt to try to deplatform me after a really bad fucking joke that I never should have made with good intentions, after a year of doing my best to operate in the best capacity to educate people, but also make sure that I don't come off in a way that puts people off, because I want people to listen to the message. And this is what it boils down to. Your stupid ass doing this shit, trying to attack my credibility as a person, as a content creator, as somebody who tries to educate young men. That's what you do. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. This is what I get mad about, Dennis. This is what I get upset about. What do you think about when you talk about topics, Dennis? When I sit down and I talk about topics of sexual assault, I think about every single survivor who's reached out to me and who said, this really fucked me up, Dennis. That's what I think about. And I hear these women and they tell me, you know, he wasn't a bad guy and he didn't even realize what he was doing. They asked me questions. They asked me, do you think that I was raped? After telling me a horrific situation, that's what they tell me, Dennis. That's what I think about. Every single time that I try to have these conversations with these young men is because I don't want another person to get violated. That's what I think about. What do you think about, Dennis, when you talk about this shit? What goes through your fucking head? This is a joke to you. It's a game to you. This isn't a game to me, Dennis. This is so real to me. This is real to me, Dennis. This fucks me up. Every single time that I've engaged in talking about some kind of a sexual assault, or I listen to somebody tell me about their sexual assault, or I try to deplatform a content creator about these horrible fucking things that they do. Do you know what I do, Dennis? Do you know what I've been doing for the past 2 years every time I deal with this, Dennis? I chain smoke and I eat like garbage. And it's not an excuse to do it, but like I was a little healthier before this. I don't like to tell people this because who the fuck am I? These people are telling me their real stories, and I'm complaining about getting stressed from hearing them or trying to deplatform people. It's not even close to the amount of stress that they deal with. But that's the impact it has on me. And it doesn't even compare. It doesn't even compare to the stress that these people go through, that survivors go through. It doesn't even compare. It doesn't. It just doesn't compare. So I don't talk about it because it's stupid and it's unfair to those people, because they shouldn't have to feel guilt for me getting upset, listening to their stories and trying to do something about it, because I'm not hurting in any way, even close to them. But here we are, Dennis. This is what we get to do. We get to sit here, and now I get to I just put in a situation where I feel like I just have to bare my entire fucking soul, and you're gonna listen to this and you're gonna laugh and you're gonna think it's funny. But you want to know what, Dennis? It's not funny. It's just not funny.